there's such a sweet spot to not lose that client experience versus automating everything. So that's really where our biggest focus and our kind of success is, and the accolades, is we have that, experience where people are like, okay, they do know who I am. They care about us as family, but then they're also like, just email my ID cards or text me my payment. So we got to try to work on
So
it.
you want to figure out what they want in the digital world so that so you still have that relationship with them, but they're pleased that the service is so much better. Welcome to the next chapter, Moving Past Disconnected Systems. I'm your host, Kristin Guglielmo. Today, we're exploring how client experience in insurance is evolving, what's working now, and how relationships are changing in the digital-first world. I am joined by April Schaffroth, agency owner at Farmers Insurance in Phoenix, Arizona. April, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
We're just talking about the weather and what the difference is between Arizona and Massachusetts, and boy, it's a big one. So
big swing today. That's about 40
huge.
plus degrees.
40 plus degrees today, yeah. So tell us about you and your agency, your team setup, who you serve, that kind of stuff.
And I would love that. Yes. So I have been a farmer's agent for about 18 years. And I always joke we can insure anything you can stick a key in, plus financial services. So it's just a good visual. I'm based in Arizona, and we insure, really, my target markets are small businesses and families. So I think that's the nice part about it. I have myself and about 4 people on my team. Very, very, very lucky. That's the secret sauce for sure, is who you work with. I love it. And I think that technology, kind of like we were briefly talking about, has changed so much from when we started. Back then it was sitting at the kitchen table with the family, going over the details. Now people don't even want to pick up the phone, let alone have you in their kitchen.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Imagine if you were going and saying, hey, well, I can come out for some coffee and they might say, okay, I'll meet you for coffee, but.
Right. That's exactly. They're like, don't come in my home. But yeah, we love it. So I think, we're always trying to search for more automation, trying to search for more, really have that full client experience to kind of enhance. But yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah. And it always is. And it's always changing because you don't know what technology is going to come that may be better, or make it better, make it faster, make it easier for your employees. So you have to be paying attention because things can change so quickly. Things are changing faster than it's ever changed,
I think that's the big piece. And there's such a sweet spot to not lose that client experience versus automating everything. So that's really where our biggest focus and our kind of success is, and the accolades, is we have that, experience where people are like, okay, they do know who I am. They care about us as family, but then they're also like, just email my ID cards or text me my payment. So we got to try to work on it.
You want to figure out what they want in the digital world so that so you still have that relationship with them, but they're pleased that the service is so much better.
That's right. Yeah.
It's finding that sweet sauce of, okay, how can I make my job easier, but also the client's going to be happier with this digital technology, and also still know that, I care about what's going on, with their families, with their assets, with their businesses.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure even in your 33 years, you've probably seen everything too high and low.
Yeah. I mean, that was my focus too, we were a small Main Street business, independent agent. Ours had been around since 1865. We were appointed by travelers by horse and buggy. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I was a little sad that I sold it. I felt a little guilty, but anyway, things change.
Yeah. Neat season.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's one recent client win that, you're proud of, that you did, that you were able to help them, you saw?
Well, I think I'll give you 2 of them. One is a basic one from automation. Is we used to do handwritten thank you and birthday cards for all of our agency, but we automated the birthday piece. I always still send out handwritten thank you cards for even a referral if the business is not closed. It's just rewarding that positive action, which I'm excited about. But recently, about 6 months ago, we automated the birthday cards. And I had a client about a month ago call and say, hey, thank you for my birthday card. I'm like, oh, my pleasure. He said, it's just really nice. He goes, no one else in my family has thought about me except for your card. I'm like, wonderful. Behind the scenes, I'm like, thank goodness. What a win. So it's just those small little pieces that make people feel like seen and heard, which I love. And then one of our biggest agency tools we've used, it's called Agency Zoom. Have you heard of it?
No, I don't think I have. Maybe I have, but explain it to me.
So we've just implemented about almost a year ago. So Agency Zoom, you can do a tons of different things. We use it for service, which means like if I have, assigned something to one of my team members, I assign it, it goes in. So it's kind of like a virtual to-do list. But then automated wise, it sends out like, hey, it's time for your review, because we all like to be as proactive as possible, but it's nice to use that technology to help. So it had happened to send out a review request or a review kind of update to one of our insureds. And then they called, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for doing that. I've already been divorced, remarried, and now I'm pregnant again. So, normally we think, big life events, the first person you call is the insurance agent. Just kidding. Kidding. It's not. So it's nice because there were a lot of moving pieces we had to adjust quickly, and it would never have come to their attention unless we'd set that automation. So it's a huge one, actually.
Yeah. Now, does it like you write a policy, and since the date of births are in there, it's automatically going to trigger it, so you don't have to do anything? Or do you have to go to Billy and say, okay, someone's got to go in and say, oh, it's the birthdays today, and release them? How does that work?
Great question. So the birthdays, it's all automatic. So once we write a policy, the birthdays are in there and we just set it up to tee it up. And then Agency Zoom, how it'll work is as soon as I receive a referral, and we're very lucky, we are 100% referral based at the moment and have been for 17 years. So I get a referral and I put, Tom Cruise, put his information, his birthday, etc. And then I move it along, literally move it along our little platform. So like I've talked to him, I've quoted him. Once I sell the business, or once I sell his policies, then at that point behind the scenes automate. So like 3 days later, it'll send a Google review. And then after that, about a month later, it'll say, hey, how's your policy? Any questions? And then every quarter after that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you have it set up for the whole year.
Totally. It happened to all of us.
So that sounds like a really amazing system that's working really well. So they're getting contacted quite a few times a year just with that.
Yes, absolutely. And one of my big wins personally is I'm very, very lucky. We're 100% referral based, but it's just a thing I'm working on, but I will never ask for a referral, even though I'm thankful and I get them. So the nice part about it is in this Agency Zoom, it sets it up so it automatically sends them 3 days later a Google review. So since we've implemented it, we've increased our Google review almost 60% in a year.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So just adding those little things. I mean, it really doesn't have to take a lot. Setting up that automation so that your clients are getting touched and they're learning about new information or whatever's going on. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm always looking for more things to add.
So compared with 2 or 3 years ago, or even before COVID, what's changed most about how clients want to interact with their agency?
I think so much has changed, especially since COVID is, now they want it fast. They want it to be transparent. They want the needs at their fingertips. But I use that, but pair it into education and being that consultant, because so many people at midnight are, buying insurance online. And I'm like, oh, great, you're missing something called un- and underinsured and comprehensive collision for your 2025, whatever.
Wind coverage, and you live in Florida. I've heard one. I had a friend who's an adjuster. She's like, Kristin, you're never going to believe it. She goes, the guy was so proud he bought that policy all by himself. And then when I had to tell him he didn't have wind coverage. So
it's crazy. And that because you don't have that piece of like, hey, let me have a light body to walk through it. So I think, now 5 years ago, people would say, I'd call them and email them for payments, but now we can text. So we really find like what works for them. But in the meantime, even if they're like, I never want to talk to a live body in my entire world, we will still add in whatever that looks like just to make sure they have that comprehensive coverage, because, we want to insure your whole house and we don't want you to glamp after a claim.
Yeah, no, we want you to understand what you have so that at the time, when the time comes, you have that education. And that's, you think about, the people are always looking there, or a lot of people are looking for price. So we have to show them how do you show that to your clients where price really doesn't matter. It's the product, it's the coverage, getting that across to your clients, especially when they don't want to sit down with us.
Right. And I think that's a nice piece about it. And especially like the younger clients now, they're making just as much money as we did 20 years in the industry. So they have the funds, but they don't want to, allocate time to talk to a real person. So I think, where we really strive is that education piece. I think, for me, price is a non-issue because I always tell people it doesn't hurt selling things required by law. So Arizona and every state says you're going to need to have that. So let's take the guessing game out and we have that piece done.
Yeah.
But I don't ever use
that question.
Yeah. So I never ever use price as an example because I really do it through stories, or I'll do it through like email tracks because, myself, even before I got into insurance, I had a, job right out of college. I was doing well. And I just had the parents I had Allstate, and that's who I had growing up. So my parents had him, I had him. That's great. And he never had taken the initiative for whatever reason to communicate and like, here's your coverages. It turns out I had state minimum, and I'm like, holy smokes. I'm like, I have a lot to lose. If you just would have explained to me how it worked, I would have leveraged insurance versus coming out of pocket. All I knew is I had windshield coverage, and that's about it. So
now, where's a win where that you educated your client? Can you think of one that you educated your client and then they had a claim and you were like, yeah, this was a real win?
Absolutely. So I have an auto and a home. So an auto is, I had a family come to me with two young twin teen drivers, and they, of course, want to cut every penny possible, which I absolutely understand, but, not to their dismay. So they came, we did a review, and we were about $50 a month more than what they had, but they didn't have un- and underinsured, and they had state minimum. So by increasing and asking those questions, do the twins have a, good GPA? Let's do that. What's that multi-policy discount? So let's look at that. So I say that because we were about $50 more a month, which is intense, but I just kind of explained it to them how it worked. Almost a year later, they had a pretty significant claim total, and they would have been devastated if they didn't have that coverage. So that's a huge win. So after the dust settled, she called me back, and we were just going over our coverages, and they understood. And the adjuster kind of explained to them how it worked. And that was a big, big win because it would have been a game changer for sure. And then,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what makes our job so exciting, or you really feel like you're helping someone because they may not understand how important, no one wants to buy insurance. No one wants to spend that money. I understand that. I don't want to spend that money. My auto insurance with my kids went up to like $11,000. I freaked out. I was like, oh my God. And we got it down. We marketed it, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. It's you have to just make sure you're doing that.
Right.
Go ahead.
And I would tell people, yeah, and if I could start with, if I could help insurance coverages, I would start with my rates. I would start with my own car. I would absolutely have $0 insurance a month, but we can't. So, I think that's the nice part about it. And your home is your biggest investment. And so people are like, oh, so I had a woman who came to me as a referral. She was on fixed income and didn't really understand how it worked, and they had her with a 3% deductible, which on your home is, I never even heard of a 3% deductible at the time when it happened. And she's like, oh my goodness.
2 and 5 is what I've heard about.
Yeah, I had never even heard. So 1 and 2 is all I've heard about. So I'm like, okay. So we met her, and I said, so if a claim would have happened, this is the amount of coverage you'd be at, or at a pocket expense. And she's like, that's not right anyway. So we ended up fixing it, gave her a $2,500 deductible. A couple years later, she had a claim, and that $2,500 deductible is a huge thing she had to pay out of pocket. And it really was a financial hiccup. So imagine if we hadn't changed it. So it was kind of cool because she had no clue.
I did that with my sister.
Really?
Because I did not really write. I didn't write a lot in Massachusetts, or I didn't have a certain carrier. I don't know what it was, but the same thing happened. And she had a wind deductible or whatever it was for the 2%. And I'm like, Leslie, your house is $600,000. what's 2% of that? I can get you $5,000 deductible, $2,500 deductible.
Right.
I mean, that you're taking a huge risk on the other side.
Right. That's a huge risk. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where insurance comes because it happens.
But you want to make sure, I mean, the deductible is something that you need to realize that you are self-insuring. So you're saying, okay, I'm taking this deductible and I realize that if there's any type of claim or claim for this situation, this is my responsibility. I'm self-insuring, but that's one of the education pieces that are so important to explain to people because they don't always get it. They're surprised. They're surprised when they have a deductible when the claim
Right.
comes. So we definitely need to educate what those coverages are.
Absolutely. And I think the landscape of home insurance, for example, in this last 6 months and soon to be in the next year has really changed nationally. So I'm, in Arizona, California with those fires. So now it's wild. So even like with farmers, I can sell farmers, and if farmers can't, I could broker it out. So it makes it really, really nice to have the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
And I say that to say, in the last 6 months, now the minimum requirement is 1% deductible on your dwelling or your home, and then 2% wind and hail. And that's just how you're going to write it. And people are like, what does that mean? So it's nothing we can control. So I think, explaining to them saying, hey, if this goes sideways, this is what you're looking at, versus they get a declaration page you're not going to read in the first place. You know what I mean?
A lot of them don't understand it. So it's,
Sure.
I mean, that's why they come to us. That's what we're supposed to do. We need to make sure that they understand what they have, what they're protecting, or what they, maybe they don't even know what they're protecting. Maybe we have to talk them through it to figure out what they're protecting.
Right. Yeah.
So very interesting. So, what's one workflow you've improved that clients immediately feel? I think you probably already answered that, but anything else that you could talk about? I talked about your birthday cards and your keeping in touch. That's really a big one. So
I think our big piece is text. So we use text for payment. I always say, especially if you change your bank account and you forget to tell your insurance company, if you say, oh my gosh, no, I'm uninsured, that's a huge deal. So I'm like, our agency, we take that very, very personally. I'm like, if you want to break up with us, that's okay. But we will literally stalk you until you say, oops, I changed my card or I went another direction. So we text, exactly. Text them, call them, email them. So that's been a really big workflow piece. Agency Zoom we use for our servicing, but I think that's been really, really helpful. And then social media of like, hey, here's a little video, or oh my gosh. So, I think that's the biggest piece, but like meeting people where they're at, but like texting them and calling them. And, I'm not going to just try once because like for most of us, we don't really read our emails. I mean, I would love to say I do. I have my team get my mail and read it, and I don't even do it.
So, yeah, I mean, getting back to a client is just so important. And, you have to put that number one before new business, before anything. And that's how I always treated my clients. That's who was number one. So if I couldn't do a piece of new business that day because I was too wrapped up in with whatever my current clients needed, that was who was going to get my attention.
That because I think that's the difference between myself and another agency is we really take that on. Like if you have a claim, I help you file it. I help break up with your old agent to do all of those pieces. And a lot of colleagues give me grief because they're like, "Why do you spend so much time?" Because I'm like, "That's what they're paying us for."
That's good for you too. I mean, if they were thinking logically, you're not giving that other agent an opportunity to keep them by doing form too. So, I mean, you're helping them, but you're also making it more likely that you're going to actually completely close this sale.
Totally agree.
So it's go ahead.
I was going to say, but yeah, that's exactly right. So like the Geicos and Progressives are lovely, but they don't have that live body to walk me through a claim. What do I brainstorm if it's raining in my living room? Do I call a vendor and say, shoot, what do I do? Or do I just call the insurance company? And so, I think there's so much value to having that consultant is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's great. Do you have any real-time tools that you're using now? Where I like the chat bots that people are, where maybe they could call in and type in and ask a question. Have you thought about that yet?
We do a little bit through farmers. On farmers.com, they have a chat tool that goes straight to like our call center. So with our agency, more so just text. So I give everyone, all my insureds, my personal cell. We have our office number that texts, our landline that texts, voicemail. So that's really about it so far. But soon to be, on our website, we've talked about doing like a little chat and having it come to like our own internal help desk.
It's amazing what's out there right now. Now, do you use e-sign? Like DocuSign was one of my favorites.
That was the game changer right around in 2020. That was something that we really adopted, and that has been such a game changer versus print, scan, send it back to us, the whole work. So that has been a blessing.
Yeah. Now, who do you use for it? Do you have a certain carrier that you let you do? Yeah. I mean, I started DocuSign in my agency in 2010.
Oh, wow.
2010, I started using it. And it was one of the best pieces of technology, and then it just gets better and better. I mean, you can have things filled in. I mean, I don't even know what it can do now. I'm sure it's 3 years later. You haven't used it. And so
it's really changed.
What other tools do you use that are really helpful with client service? I mean, DocuSign. Favorite.
So now, even from the claims perspective, so claims teams throughout all different carriers. So if you have a claim for an auto, for example, the insured, instead of driving it to a body shop, they now get an app, and on your phone, you can then take a picture, email it to them. They can see sometimes from the phone if it's a total loss. So it really speeds that process up. So it's nice. So then that way people don't have to make an appointment in a body shop. They don't have to coordinate tow. So it's been, from a time perspective, from not only the client, but from the claims perspective too, it's been really, really helpful. Same for home. So at a home loss, what we really help our clients do is we have all of our, farmers preferred vendors that come and offer a free inspection to see, like, is this a cover claim? What do we think? And what that cost is. Now they send a link to our insureds, then they take their video and do it. So then that way, same day, kind of figure out our plan of attack. The insured's like, okay, great. Someone's actually looking at my house instead of coming a week or two, depending on the time of year with the losses, like what that looks like. So that's been really helpful. So then an agency owner piece, they're like, oh my gosh, Farmers is great, but April's on and and I'm just sitting here at my desk. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah, that is. And you're just getting the updates. And it's great that Farmers is taking that initiative to make it easier for your agents because you want to be able to spend that time educating them about that stuff and making sure that they have the right coverage when the time comes, but making sure that it all goes smoothly. So that's great. I love
and that's a nice piece is really in industry. It's like who you work with. So, Farmers, we have our own preferred vendors, and I also vet everybody myself, and everyone that I use is on it. And so I know I'll always do a good job, but if something happens, they do a great job. So it's wonderful.
So now, what's something that you tried that didn't work the way you'd hoped, and what did it teach you?
So we've tried everything under the sun. So I would say we tried just like we used an automated system before Agency Zoom, and we set it out there, but it was all came into spam. We didn't get any replies. We tried to do cross sale. So in a perfect world, we'd love to have time to pick up and do a quick review for everybody over the phone immediately, but time and bandwidth, we don't. So before, I thought I had bought a really fancy program and, set it all up, and it crashed and burned because it wasn't coming from my agency. It said it was, but it was coming right into spam. There was no personal touch to it. I'm like, well, at least it's getting out in front of them. But then there was no connection to bring them back to our agency. So that was a absolute crash and burn. I'm like, I'd rather at least, yeah.
Yeah, I had a few of those where I bought the product. And then my biggest mistake was not reading the contract where it said that you couldn't cancel for 5 years. That's one of my business tips that I give to everyone, to make sure you at least read the cancellation term.
Right.
Because, you sign something, you want to know at least when you're going to be able to get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they definitely can sell you the sizzle, but then when you have to implement it, you're like, this is literally the worst thing I've ever bought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, with my new AI stuff, I'm trying to do it yourself. I mean, do it for you. So do it for you. So I don't want to put that on anyone. So I'm hiring technicians and, the people who know how to do it. Because that was one of my problems too, as an agency owner, is you get thrown this software and then you don't know how to use it.
Right.
and you don't have the proper training to use it. So then, maybe it would have been good software, but it's too much that's thrown at you. So if you can get someone to do it for you, I think
that's huge. And we are very lucky. We have a wonderful team. Like I have a wonderful team, but like myself with technology, I'm more big picture. I'm so visual. Like you'll have to show me how to do it a couple times. Once I get it, I get it. But if you show me, like we just got a different platform called Kajabi. We're trying to create an online course, and which is exciting. But I'm like how that technology is based is they just send me links of how to. I'm like that's not how I learn. Like to send me links of like read it myself and do all that. Nope. I have to have someone. I'm so visual. I have to have someone walk me through it, and then I'm up to speed. So I think figuring out whatever sort of product and tool you have, they love that you're going to have someone do it for you.
absolutely, absolutely. And you don't mind having someone paying the money to have someone do it for you, especially if it works.
Right. Leverage that.
If it's going to work, then that's all you wanted. This is why we got it.
Yeah. It would take me 30 hours to take them 3 minutes. You know what I mean? So I think that's a nice part. That's cool.
If you're looking 2 to 3 years ahead, what do you think a great client experience will look like? Like, what do you think is going to be the future of the client experience and keeping relationships and keeping it human?
Right.
Sounds so weird. We're using ourselves, talking about ourselves as humans now,
Isn't that wild?
It is wild. Cause that's what I keep hearing, is it the human or the AI? And I'm like, we're just people.
Right.
No, we're just
normal people.
Humans. It's such a weird word. Anyway,
it is
2 or 3 years ahead. What do you think that experience will look like?
Oh my gosh. I would say, trying to find that balance between being a human and technology, I think is huge. But I think probably, like with AI, like recording. So I've seen, have you heard of Bomb Bomb?
No, there's so many.
So many. So you can make.
I'll look it up though.
Yeah, so they're using it. So we'll see how that looks. But like, it's like, for me spending time to call you and say, hey, I'd love to do a quick review. And, then we ended up getting sidetracked, talk about your family 1,000 times. So what that looks like is, you would, if I were going to put a fast forward, and I think, using tools like whatever, Bomb or whatever platform. And, I just record from my desk a, 2-minute conversation of like, hey, looks great, blah, 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 call me back. And I think utilizing, video with text or email, you can do it a couple different ways, but then they still get that for, person and face and technology of like, okay, here's my review. You can do a screen recording of what their policy looks like and explain coverages. So I think that is a big piece of it. I think DocuSign now is going to be huge, where farmers were rolling out, where you can even, I'll send you a quote and you say, yes, looks good. And then I push a button, and then you as a consumer, kind of like Amazon, you buy it, you set up your billing, you do all of it.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. And that's all on farmer side?
All on farmer side.
Yeah. We are farmers. We love that commercial.
I love it. Anytime I give presentations, I walk in and I start to say, I'm like, so you get a prize if you can finish it. And so just saying we are farmers, and then I have a whole room of people saying, bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, I love it.
You're hired. I love it.
Well, it's funny. My husband and I, you pick out which insurance commercials you like the most or which you don't. My kids were always calling the gecko, from Geico,
yes.
some weird name, because we.
Totally. And I always tell people like Flo with Progressive drives me nuts, but she talks about the bundle. So she does the heavy lifting. So I can just say, remember what Flo said? Let's do it. Let's add them together.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Flo too.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I love her. So it's nice and it's fun because, I think social media, that's where we're striving in our agency is social media. So it's kind of fun because we have made a social media. We make a video every Wednesday. And we've made a video every Wednesday on social media for almost 15 years. And we've never missed a week. And we just make it fun and educational. And some weeks we're like, what are we doing? But we try to like put a fun we put an insurance spin on all of it from 99% of it. But we put them on like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the platforms. And it's trying to bring like awareness of like, just helpful insurance tips to people who don't have an agent. They're like, well, that makes sense. Or if you have a 2-story home, we should probably have a ladder that comes out of your house. Like all just different insurance tips or how to use it. Do you? Good for you. Good for you.
Insurance agents, you like overdo it. So I have 2 ladders. I have the fire blankets, one upstairs, one downstairs. And I even bought one of those choking things, but that's
Good
an,
for you.
but
I
a
love it.
manager at heart right
Yeah.
here in everything I do.
I love it. But that's so nice because it's that peace of mind. You know what I mean? So, people, we always talk about like really I think they're really helpful insurance tips and life insurance as well. But there's not a lot of razzle dazzle in life insurance, but, we talk about the need for it, which is of course, but like, so I think, using social media, using like now we're on TikTok and, we get weekly sales, if you will, or clients because of it, just because they're like, these crazy ladies are on the social media doing.
Love it. What's the Facebook page so I can find it?
So it's April Schaffroth or April Schaffroth Farmers Agency, but I can follow you. What's yours?
Mine is, well, you can just follow my personal one is just Kristin Guglielmo, and then you'll be able to find my business one, which is Strategic Intelligent AI Solutions. So
You can tell.
that was my
Totally.
mine. So I have to switch up my link. I'm working on that with Facebook.
Yeah, I'll totally follow you for sure. But it's been
I want to see your videos, so I definitely want to see those.
Yay! It's a kick. It's actually been, that's why we're just starting a company called My Twin and I. It's called Posts with Purpose, and it's for small businesses, insurance and otherwise, of like putting your foot in social media, what that looks like, taking away the stigma of like, you have to have a whole fancy thing. Everything we make is just from a smartphone. But what the difference is that we pick one insurance something a week and try to make a fun spin on it. But it's really been ridiculously successful. It's free, first of all, so it doesn't cost us anything. And then we measure only the first week out, but we'll get like 30 to 60,000 views a week.
So you're doing fantastic. That's crazy. That is crazy. You can't
for
get
insurance
advertising than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, like the things
How
we
do you
do
handle all the new business that comes in? What's your process for that?
Right. The team, it's been awesome. So it's been really, 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 really cool. And we just have a good time and there's no fussiness. And, when you film, like people are hesitant to film, especially if like, I'm thankful I have a wonderful team, but if you're on your own, people get really nervous and be like, so we just like this new kind of venture we're doing is to walk you through like steps that you can do and steps that work. And, I mean, I think it's been kind of cool.
Go look.
Yay! I love that. How fun. So what's your kind of goal for your company in this next year?
I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to help. I really want to work in the nonprofit sector and see what I can help them automate or get their story out. Obviously I'd love to help insurance agencies too, because I know their operations, but on my other side, not helping the nonprofits, maybe increasing donor engagement. I mean, all the stuff that you're doing right there is the same that they can do with, the right CRM or the right setup, and a lot of it can be automated. So right now, do they send their thank you notes like you're doing? You're sending a thank you note. Well, when a person gives money to a nonprofit, they want a thank you note. They want some recognition, and if they're not doing that, so that's the kind of thing I want to be able to do, and then hopefully you'll get donors for them that are regulars that they want, or they're always thinking of Opportunity Works or whatever nonprofit it is. So that's what I hope I can do. But obviously I'm going to help any business who wants to implement some type of AI into their business. I have a great team in Massachusetts that's working with me. So I'm just the domain, they call it the domain expert. So the person who understands the operations, operations of the business. We both understand operations of business. We've been running a business for, but then insurance, and then
right.
So you're the domain expert, and then you bring it back to the technicians and say, okay, this is what we want to do. How do we do it? What tools do we use?
I love it.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm looking, but my focus is nonprofit sector. So I'm doing podcasts with the nonprofit sector too, because I want them to be able to get their stories out.
I love that. A nonprofit is kind of my sweet spot. So I'm a huge believer in everyone should be giving back. Yep. In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I've been on the board of nonprofit for 10 years on the one that I'm on now. And then before that, and, they're struggling all the time. They don't have the funding. They're taking care of our most helpless citizens, people that we need to take care of.
What's your nonprofit? Which one do you do?
It's Opportunity Works Connecticut. It's a nonprofit serving individuals with disabilities.
And that's really neat. You get a gold halo every day.
Yeah. One of my favorite nonprofits was Hole in the Wall Game Camp, which is Paul Newman. It's a Paul Newman camps. So I volunteered all the time because it's in our backyard up in Ashford, Connecticut, and I love that place.
That's wonderful.
Walkathon for 10 years up there and raised money.
That's so wonderful. I do a couple different ones, but it's called the Heal House. So it's basically a nonprofit for moms who are going through cancer treatment and help give money back. And it's just a really nice and special Olympics, of course. But and then we, as our agency, one of the biggest things, I'm a huge believer, no matter what business you are, you have to be in the community. Don't just be a business in it. So find what that looks like, see your need and do it. So we are in North Phoenix in Arizona, and we connected with a food bank called North Foothills Food Drive. So we do a food drive twice a year, and it's a hydration station because in Arizona it's like 1,000,000 degrees. And so we have partnered with, this is our 9th annual with Salvation Army, and we go to an area in kind of the center of Phoenix called Maryvale, which is, they have a huge need for that. So we do like a big water thing. We get trucks donated and do pilots water. So I think so to take that, whatever business you're doing, and find something in your community you can help with, I think is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was had my own agency, we started Trick or Treat on Main Street. There was probably a lot of those like Trick or Treat out of the trunks that we saw.
Yeah.
So, let's do a Trick or Treat on Main Street. So I don't know how many. I think we could be 15. It could be 15 years in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. But my marketing rep and me, and a couple other business owners, we started it, and we would be people from all over the state were coming.
It was neat.
We would have 3,000, 4,000 people on the street, on Main Street, and they close it down for us. So they shut the traffic down for 3 hours, and it's just everyone can go up and down to all the businesses. And so that's probably one of my most exciting accomplishments.
That's cool. It's a very cool deal.
For a community event. And I loved it. And we always had the best place to come, the full candy bars. And then I always had...
That's a game changer if you have a full
candy bar. I wanted to make sure people came to me. And I always had, one time I had the Ghostbuster car with the guy get dressed up as Ghostbuster. I had Frozen theme, so that I had Elsa. My niece was Elsa, and we had all the other characters. So yeah, being part of the community is so important, and it's fun.
And you make a huge difference. And even if we don't get $1 in your pocket, you've made it help someone and made a huge difference. I think that's awesome.
You could have made their kids have the best Halloween ever.
And you'll be the talk of the town. My twin and I
worth every cent spent, even if you don't make a dime.
Absolutely. That's the nice part. We always joke about full-size candy bars is my twin and I, we each have little ones. And so there's like 4 houses in the entire evening that give full-size candy bars. So that's the ones we hit first. So you already made a name for yourself just with that.
Hey, I know how it works.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
So what's one practical piece of advice you'd give an agency owner who wants to get ahead of client expectations this year?
Be as proactive as possible. So my recommendation is be as proactive as possible. So use your tech tools, do your texting, do your birthday cards, things like that, but really get out in front of them. And now take that hat off of like, I'll just sell a policy because I have quotas or whatever that looks like. And once you take the price out of it, once you take, whatever that count is, take that consultative approach and say let's look at your full life, because life changes so quickly, and they don't tell your insurance agent. So be the advocate for them, and so walk them through knowing that they're not alone and they have someone looking over them. Rates go up or go down, hopefully go down, but they won't. But rates go up and go down. You want to have someone say, my insurance agent. So just like they did 50 years ago, that insurance agent was like a household conversation, a household name. Now it's not the case. So really, I want to put myself and get that kitchen table connection of saying, hey, my insurance agent has my side, knowing, we've explained the coverages, because things happen. And that's why we're in the business we are. I always explain to people, I'm really good at horrible things. And so when I'm like, when it comes to something horrible, You have a live body to help you walk through. You don't pay an extra penny for it all. And so, like, I'm going to be in your corner when it's the worst day of your life or it's the best of your life.
Make sure that they know that. And that's one of the number one things is, reiterate, if you have a problem, reach out to me. We don't always know that you're having a problem. If you reach out to me, I will do everything I can do to get it working in the right direction.
Right.
But you don't know. And so I think that's really important too, is to make sure we tell our clients, don't be afraid to call and ask us a question that you think might be dumb or
I agree. They'll be the first ones to call saying, hey, why did my bill go up $4 or what, 400,000 or whatever? I get that, but like utilize and leverage us as consultants to help you. I think that that's really nice. And, that's what we try to do it, but like using the tools to say, don't forget about us. And, we're here to help. So that's kind of my big piece is no matter how fancy our technology gets is keep that human connection for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this was a fast, practical look at what's working in client experiences. April, thank you so much for the insight. If you'd enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to the next chapter, Moving Past the Disconnected Systems. I'm Kristin Guglielmo, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for the opportunity.